Hello and welcome to the Box Angeles podcast. I'm the host of said podcast, Mike Elder. Thank you for listening. What is going on? For those new to the show, please go to the YouTube channel. I want to get to 100,000 subscribers. Can we get there? I don't know. But one person at a time, if you subscribe, we might be able to do it. It's a treasure trove of content. I got clips from all the episodes. I got full episodes of these latest episodes. It's a wonderful library of materials that I offer to you for free. So click subscribe, support me by doing that. It would mean the world to me. BoxAngeles.com/YouTube. We've got a great interview this week. I sat down with actor and writer Jacob Seidman. Jacob is a talented up-and-coming actor. I love talking to these up-and-coming actors. You know what I mean? They still got the drive, the hunger, the wide-eyed approach to the industry. They're not jaded. They're very excited. Jacob was no different. This was a really fun conversation. He talked about, he's made a lot of short films over the last few years, which I've so impressed by, and I love talking to him about that. His short film, Fall to Fame, was a journey for him. He won Best Outstanding Actor at the Mishu Film Festival here in LA for that film. It was really cool to hear his experience making that film and all his other short films and what he's learned through the process. And I think it's a really valuable conversation. And I think it's an important conversation because you can't just sit around waiting for the phone to ring, right? And how you counteract that is you make stuff, you write stuff, you create stuff. And he talked about his acting class, Studio 24/7, where it's a really supportive environment that encourages each other to make stuff and helps each other make stuff. So this is a really fun conversation. Jacob was a real treat to chat with, and I think you're really going to dig the conversation. So without further ado, I give you...
Hi, I'm Jacob Seidman.
Hi, Jacob.
Hi.
It's so good to meet you.
So good to meet you.
I'm excited to talk to you. I looked you up. We were connected via mutual friend Kate. She said you were wonderful. She thinks I'm wonderful, so it seems like this is going to be a wonderful conversation.
And she's wonderful, so she's connected to fun people.
Yeah, it's great. I wanted to talk to you first. I feel like we're kind of in the same boat a little bit. You're SAG eligible, right? So
Correct.
We're kind of on the outside looking in. We've done a few things here and there. Do you go out a lot commercially?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we're in the same boat. So how is your vibe right now with the strike and everything? Where's your head at? How are you feeling?
Well, I guess on one hand, you could say lucky or unlucky. I still make my living from a restaurant, from a day job.
Yeah.
So on one hand, I don't necessarily feel fully affected by it because I still have a stream of income, which in a way is very lucky.
Yeah.
It means in the grand picture of things, I'm still not making my money the way I want to be, but those are long-term goals. So I like you said, I do kind of feel on the outside looking in that sense. It almost, I don't know if I mean this to sound the way it's going to sound. It almost doesn't feel like it's my fight because I still go to work every day. Right. Or, 4 days a week. But it is my fight. It is our fight. And there are obviously major things that need to change. And so I'm very hopeful that those things change going forward and starting this new era of what's the whole landscape going to look like. And in that way of sort of being SAG eligible or in the group of people who are still working their way up, I'm really excited for what this new landscape may look like in giving us more opportunities as independent filmmakers and up-and-coming creatives and things like that.
Yeah. I wouldn't discount yourself for having a day job, though. It is your fight. Like, of the 170,000 or whatever members, 150,000 of them have day jobs.
Yeah,
I have a day job. So I wouldn't discount yourself, but I understand.
I don't mean it's not my fight, but
we're on the outside looking in, kind of, and we're not, like, affected in poverty levels.
Exactly.
But
I think if I were out of work, like so many people are, it would have a very different mentality
for sure
for myself than it does.
Did you have the same initial reaction though when it started? Like, I hit up my manager and I was like, I want to join SAG. I want to be a part of this. And when I found out commercially it didn't matter, I was like, oh, well, I get so many non-union commercial auditions. I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I kind of have a little bit of FOMO about it. And I can go down there if I want, of course, but I also am working a day job. And, But like I had a little bit of like, oh, I got FOMO. I want to be a part of this. I want to be part of this tide type of thing. Did you experience that too?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Because it's like that's our community, that's our world, like that's what we're fighting for, and those are the people, like those are the careers, like those are the people I want to be.
Yeah.
And those are the people I want to be around.
Right.
So 100%.
Yeah. And now it just feels like, I still have that FOMO, and I have a lot of unease right now. I talked about this in therapy this week. I feel like nothing's like sure-footed right now. Yeah. And it's so funny because that happened like right before this. I felt like I was getting a steady stream of auditions, and then right before COVID too, steady stream of auditions. How I don't know if you can relate to that, but how do you deal with, or how do you sort of handle that sort of stoppage when you might be getting momentum or something, and then it stops?
Mine, when everything started, was actually on the writer side of things. I had a couple scripts that we were pitching. There were some meetings on the books. It felt like there were some wheels starting to turn, and then the WGA strike started, and of course all of those meetings went away. And so that was sort of my moment of oh, okay. And it did. It took me a little while to it took me a couple weeks. Like I redecorated my whole apartment and like bought new I had another, I spent a couple weeks on like that kind of a project. And then when I finished that, I was like, oh, now what do I do?
Right.
That was sort of when it set in. I was like, oh, okay. I have actually been affected by this in that moment. You know, like you have these meetings on the books, you have people interested in scripts, you start thinking all of these amazing, trajectory, daydreams.
But you're not in the WGA. You had potential to like sell some writing stuff, and then you just felt.
I'm not in the WGA, but my agency is so basically once the strike started, all of that paused.
Right.
I forget where you started this question at.
Just how do you get over the momentum stopping? How do you fight through that or overcome that?
I just started working on, I just went back to me, and I spent the whole summer working on a feature that had been on the to-do list.
That's amazing. To
get that done.
Yeah.
So I've spent the last we started on it in April, and then really kicked up our gear in I guess March. We really kicked up our gear in May. So I spent the whole summer working on that. And I'm working on other projects with friends, like a play, other things like that.
Just keeping yourself busy.
Keeping myself busy.
Going back to the basics kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. Helping other friends who are doing shorts and things this summer that, we're doing independently. I didn't have anything that I created this summer because I was writing, but helping other people build their projects. Just keeping busy.
Is your emphasis more in a perfect world? Are you a writer or an actor or a hyphenate?
Hyphenate.
Okay.
But I would like to write the pieces that I get to
Of
act.
course. That helps.
Yeah.
So were you auditioning quite a bit pre-strike?
Not so much, mostly commercially.
Okay.
So again, like in that feeling of the switch, I didn't so much feel the the well dry up in auditions.
Right.
Theatrically, I didn't have tons and tons before the strike started.
Sure.
But I think it is then that fear of it's always like, well, they'll come, maybe, they'll come eventually. And now it's that like, okay, well, when will they come? when will they come?
That's funny for me how I just viewed what you said. I'm like, oh, there's going to be a natural reset here, and you might just be in the natural reset. You know what I mean? Like they're going to reset everything, and then, oh, there's Jacob right on the front of my thing, and boom.
Yep.
Whereas like, I'm going to make it a pity part about me. They're like, oh, we've seen Mike a few times. Let's reset. You know what I mean?
New photos. Just get new photos.
Grass is always greener on the other
exactly.
side.
But yeah, so that was sort of, I feel like, how the switch of things. But, we did this obviously different, but we did this a couple years ago during COVID.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit and lockdown, we went into lockdown, and my friend and I made a whole web series on Zoom,
That's great.
24 episodes on Zoom. I'll say it, we were the first. Other people say we were the first, but we were the first because we launched our first episode on March 30th of 2020.
He's got receipts.
I have receipts. We were the first. So I'm not the pivot doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
Right. This hit me a little bit harder or differently, not harder, differently, because when COVID happened 3 years ago, I had nothing. There was no prospects on the horizon. So I was like, great, let's pivot and make our own thing. This time being in a position where, okay, there were potential things happening and now those are paused, that hit a little bit differently.
Right.
But the pivot doesn't scare me. I used to be a chorus dancer. I can pivot, turn, and do a kickball change.
No big deal. MBD. But it sounds like you approach it really healthily. Like a lot of people can use it as sort of a paralysis, right? And a pity party and just sort of stop what they're doing. And that's sort of the crux of the problem with acting in general, right? So much of it is you waiting for other people to make decisions.
Yeah.
And you're spinning that. And then when this happens, you're taking it in your own hands. You're writing, you're making content on your own, which is, I think, a really healthy and great way to approach it.
It's solely because I have a great world of people around me. I'm in a great acting studio. It's called Studio 24/7.
Okay.
I've been there for 6 years, and those are my people. Those are my tribe. We make everything together. We help each other. I'm still in class twice a week. So yes, there's no auditions, but I'm still working on Angels in America and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and Noel Coward, and so I'm still working.
Yeah.
And I'm still surrounded by those people who are also working.
Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps me in that glass half full, non-paralyzed way of looking at it and working through it. And okay, well, let's just go back to work. Let's just go back to the basics.
Well, you're doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I think a lot of actors forget is go do stuff. Don't just sit around and wait for the phone to ring. It's never going to ring.
Absolutely.
And you're just sort of generating a good vibe around you by doing that. And you're in a positive mood. And when you go to auditions, people can sense that. And when you go to writing pitches, people can sense that. What is it? It's Catch 24/7. What's it called?
Studio 24/7.
Studio 24/7.
Yes.
You make it sound like it's really collaborative.
It's super collaborative.
Tell me more. I haven't heard of him.
Mark McPherson, shout out to Mark, is the teacher. He's acting teacher and coach, and changed my life. / I would not have this existence in Los Angeles without him and the people in the studio. It's an amazing. The class itself, the work is amazing, right? The scene study that we do, the way he teaches, the way we work is amazing. The career coaching is amazing, and the people who come to the studio, the people who are drawn to this room, are supportive, loving, talented, collaborative. We kind of have a little mini collective amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
We have all the equipment we need. We take turns helping each other.
That's really cool.
Build our projects. So when people have shorts they want to film, a pilot they want to film, we do it we take turns buying lunch. Whoever's project it is buys lunch.
That's great.
So it's a really amazingly accessible way to be creative and create content to then have something to show for yourself.
Yeah.
That doesn't cost
an arm and a leg.
Thousands and thousands.
It sounds like Burning Man for acting classes.
I love that. I'm going to tell them to advertise it like that. I love that.
It's just that everyone depends on everyone else.
Yeah, it's special, and it's completely colored my existence here in this town, in terms of having a tribe. But that's also
very cool.
Changed and set the foundation for the career that I want to have.
Yeah. Wait, so it's Matt McPherson, you said?
Mark McPherson.
So it's a basic, at its heart, it's a scene study class.
Correct.
But he sort of fostered this idea of help each other out, look for a,
yes.
And then there's sort of other classes in it with career
yeah, we do some career coaching out that he runs outside of class, and then within the classes you sort of find your people, and then we have our but we take turns helping. Everybody helps everybody.
Yeah.
Largesse is very big in that space.
How many people are in the studio?
Probably amongst all the classes, I would say 60 to 80.
That's great. Where's it based?
North Hollywood.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I never get hooked on one class. I try to do as many classes as I can.
Yeah.
So I'll have to check it out because I do think it's great to get a different perspective.
This one's not like a 6-week, 8-week thing. This is gym, open gym. You go and you work out every week. I go twice a week. But I've been with him for 6 years.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, I think it is. Well, that's good. I think we all are. And to recognize that, I think, is important, because if you think you know it all, you're done. I do like that idea of a community, though. For me, that was improv, right? I started at IO West and UCB and West Side, and I feel like all the people I know in LA are from those
Yeah.
3 theaters, basically. And that sort of established me in LA, which it sounds like this did for you.
Otherwise, I mean, any city is a big, lonely city. And when I moved here, I really only knew like 4 or 5 people
Yeah.
who already had their own lives
Right.
established.
And probably lived in different zip codes that were very far away and took forever to get to them.
Totally. Although I'm not afraid of driving in LA. I'll travel.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. As long as as long as I'm moving, I don't
Yeah.
mind it. But if I'm sitting still,
Totally.
that's where I'm like,
I just try to plan it out.
lighting.
Like, if I'm going someplace specific, I'll make a whole day out of that
that's great.
neighborhood or see whoever
Which I heard you doing after this
which I am
podcast.
doing
That's
after this
hilarious.
podcast. Yeah, I live by the beach, so I say whenever I come in town, I'm like,
That's
I'm coming
really
in
funny.
town, and make a day out of it.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Tell me about so it seems like from what I've gathered from your body of work, you write and create a lot of your short films, right?
Yes.
Tell me about like how you started that and what you've learned in doing so many. How many have you done at this point? It seems like 5, 6 or something, maybe.
I've
Am I
written
exaggerating?
and filmed. I've written and filmed 3 short films,
It's amazing.
and then 1 web series.
So what have you learned from doing
yeah.
that? And like what did you find to be like the biggest challenge?
So it started with being in class and needing material for a reel, because just like
Yep.
with so many things in this industry, what comes first? Well, you need a reel to book the role, but you need roles to have
have a
footage
reel.
for your reel.
Yeah.
So and so Mark tells everyone, create your own material. So I wrote a scene. I think it was 2 or 3 page scene, and this is, I think it's the best, for me, it was the best way to start. And I tell other people, I think this is the best way to start writing if you've never written before. Write a scene to the X. Mine was the scene I wish I could have said.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
what's the conversation I wish we could have had, or what's the closure? For me, the scene was, what was the closure that I needed?
Yeah.
Or it's, what's the thing you wish you could have said to move on, right? It's just an easy place for everybody to start. We all know exactly what that feels like.
Exactly. And he's talking about his ex-boyfriend, not Twitter,
Yeah.
aka X.
Oh, okay. Yes.
That was a bad joke.
Got it.
I was
Yes.
thinking about that joke and it didn't come out right. You were like writing about X, and I immediately thought about the new Twitter, and I was like, "That's dumb." Sorry, I ruined it.
Yes.
You
Talk
did a
about
good
the
thing,
person
girl.
who broke your heart and destroyed you. And then just have it out. I recommend a glass or 2 of wine to go with it while you write it. That's how I started.
That's what you did, yeah.
And I had never written anything before. I had never taken a writing class.
Oh, cool.
I wrote this couple page scene. I grabbed some friends from class who had a camera, another friend to be in it. It was just the 2 of us in this scene. We filmed it. I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the writing. I'm proud of the content. But like, we didn't have lights. We didn't have
Right.
sound. We didn't have it's me and another guy in bed, and my friend Ashley stood over us holding her camera. Like, it's as guerrilla as, no money as you can get.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And we were all learning, right? So what I really learned from that was, and it was just supposed to be a scene for my reel. Well, then I asked my neighbor, who's a brilliant musician, if I could use one of her songs, like in the credits. And she was like, well, that's not actually mine. I don't have the rights for it. That's a cover. How about I write you? How about I score
cool.
this for you? Then I'll have it for my scoring reel. So she wrote a score that covered up all of the sound imperfections
Wow.
that we had, and also made it a movie. Now it wasn't just a scene.
Right.
And she brought in a friend of hers who's a sound engineer to help us do it. And that was really like my first moment of collaboration of like, oh, it takes a village and everybody has something to bring to the table and a voice that adds into the puzzle. And yes, I want all of those voices in this.
Yeah.
So that's how I started writing. And then from there,
What I think is cool about that though is like you weren't worried about the imperfections.
No.
You just did it. And I think that stifles a lot of people.
For sure.
Even like this podcast, people ask me how to start a podcast and I say, just go record something. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. I just always try to do something better each time, right?
Absolutely.
Like the first one I did, the audio sucked. right? The first time I did a video, the video sucked.
Yeah.
Like I just got better, and I'm not worried about perfection. I'm worried about finishing, which I think is harder than perfection.
Absolutely. And if you're worried, and if you know, like if I had started with, okay, I'm going to make a movie and I need all of this, like it wasn't meant to be that. It was meant to be a scene. I was only going to use 15 seconds of it for my reel, you know, like I was like, the rest of it can be trash. It doesn't matter.
Did the thought process come into your head that it's easy to film in a bed and it wouldn't take much production? Or was that happenstance?
It was happenstance. It wasn't intentional.
Because I was going to say, that's when it's somewhere, like if you're not trying to move around sets, that makes it a lot easier barrier to entry.
It was totally by accident. But it was it worked out well. And then so I submitted that piece to a couple film festivals. And
how did you know to do that? Or did you just like sort of figure it out as you went?
I just kind of figured it out. Once we added the music,
Google how to submit to film festivals.
Well, luckily I had a nice, through class and people had done it before. And really, when my friend wrote this score for this piece, it made it upped the ante, like way up the ante.
That sounds really cool. Yeah.
And she wrote a beautiful, it came together really, really lovely. So, I submit to a couple different festivals and at the time I didn't know. And I think what I was submitting to were the ones that are like the monthly ones, which are sort of just to kind of get laurels, which are awesome.
Yeah.
But you get a couple, like, okay, you get right off the bat, you're like, oh wow, I got a laurel, and it's,
Sorry, what's a laurel? I don't know.
Like you've been selected for.
Oh, like the logo.
Like
thing.
the logo,
got it,
right?
Got it, yep.
But the best again, I didn't know, but the best happy accident was submitting it to Palm Springs Short Fest. Which I highly recommend everyone submit to, because if you don't get in, like my film did not get in, but you get 2 filmmaker tickets to go to the festival.
Oh, very cool.
And it's an awesome operation. An awesome setup. They have like an industry networking lounge that you can hang out in. They have parties, they have workshops, they have talkbacks. And in that networking lounge, people put their postcards for their films with the like QR codes and the Vimeo links on them. So my film it was myself and my friend who filmed it with me. His name is Mike, and he's very attractive. And I intentionally put him shirtless in the bed on the picture to garner attention, because
in Palm Springs, perfect.
Yeah, I know what my audience is, and I know what I'm like. I know what eyeballs I'm looking for, and that's exactly what happened. And someone picked up the postcard and watched the film and reached out and was like, "Hey, I really like this, and I'm a producer." And
cool.
And we met for coffee, and left it at, if you ever have a project, let me know. If I ever have a project, I'll let you know. A year later, I had my next short, and I reached out to him and said, here, let's chat. So it was a really amazing...
That's cool.
Of like right place, right time, happy accidents, bringing in the right people to collaborate. And then when we made that film, Fall to Fame, which is Fall to Fame is my first real film.
Yep.
That had a full team and full production value, and I'm super proud of it. And it's streaming on Deku, which is an all LGBTQ streaming service.
Very cool.
But again, another perfect example of collaboration. And we had a husband and wife director team, and my producer DP, who was the one who I initially met. And I think I'm getting way off track, but back to what I've learned from writing and how that's fueled me is truly the collaboration.
Yeah.
And creating work for myself and creating work for friends. And just I want to create opportunities where everyone gets to do what they do.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's really what it's.
But go to the next film. So suddenly you got a production budget, I assume.
Yes.
Suddenly you got to schedule different people. It's not just 3 people and a girl, or 2 people and a girl shooting above you.
Yeah, it was a whole production.
Like what? How do you start navigating that, going from that to that, or did you just feel like you learned a lot in the first that you could sort of snowball it into the next one?
It was it was amazing trial by fire. I learned so much on that one, and again, I was surrounded by really awesome people who have experience, and we had like a 6-month pre-pro of working on the script. And I will say, like, one of the big things I learned in terms of getting better with each project, my director, husband and wife duo team, Jesse and Brian, he was also a writer. And so at one point he took the script, like I had done rewrites on the script. Then he took it and he did a rewrite. And I remember reading it and I called my dad and I was like, is this still mine? Like, can I still call this my script? And
It's your story, by.
And my dad was like, yeah, it is your script.
Yeah.
This is why you brought people on who are better than you.
Yep.
So that you can learn from them. You now see how he took what you did, restructured it, finessed it, tightened it to make it this.
Yeah.
Now, the next time you write a script, this is where you'll start at. This
Right.
is what you know it needs to be like.
Right. Wait, why'd you call your dad about that?
Oh, because I call him about everything.
Oh. I didn't know if he was like a writer or something.
Nope, he's not.
Got
My
it.
dad is completely non-industry, but he reads everything that I do, and I trust his opinion more than anybody
Got it.
else's. Because he's also an avid television and film watcher.
Sure. That's perfect.
And always honest with me to a fault. So
That's good.
I'm very lucky in that sense. So I learned so much about building it. I learned about what goes into it. You know, we had casting sessions, we did rewriting sessions, we did pre-pro. And then my favorite part of this story of building this film is on the back end. We, when we got the first edit for the first rough cut of the piece, the editor had taken 2 little chunks of scenes that didn't work that were both cut from the edit. And he took the audio from one and he took the visual from the other, and he combined them and he made this button on the end of the film that's not in the script.
Oh, cool.
And every single one of us were like, why didn't we think of that?
Sure.
So like, and that again was another like light bulb moment for me of like, let everyone have their voice.
Yeah.
Let everyone do what they do.
Right.
It doesn't need to just be my voice. Like what for me in my writing, I'm very much like, here it is. I did it. Make it better. My name's on it.
Yeah.
So please,
Well, that's
make
what
it better.
That's what I was gonna say when you talked about him rewriting it. It's like you got to know when to let go,
Yeah.
and like pass it off and let somebody
Absolutely.
spruce it up or whatever. That's very cool. So
Yeah.
how much did that end up costing you to make?
Not including just production, not including festival submissions. I think it was 81 or 8,200
I thought you were saying 1,000. I was
Oh,
like,
God, no.
holy shit.
for an 8-minute short film. No, I think it was eight. I think it was.
So that's
it was
not bad.
It was around $8,000.
Did you fund that yourself?
I did.
Nice.
And honestly, I mean, and that's everyone worked for so little. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, my DP producer and my 2 directors certainly did not get paid for their 6 months of pre-pro
Yeah.
time. And everyone brought in their people. It was an amazing experience, and I'm super, super proud of it.
How much did you budget out of that? Like during pre-pro, did you
Yeah.
have 8,200 in your head and you're like, we're gonna do blah blah blah?
So-
or did you just sort of add on as you went?
So my producer, I hired he and his whole production company. So they handled everything from top to bottom.
Got it.
And I highly recommend them, Bridge the Divide Media. Matthew Lynn, he's the one who I met from Palm Springs.
Got it.
Amazing production company that does mostly LGBTQ, female, diverse projects. So I hired their whole team. He laid out a budget for me so I knew, I don't think we went over budget at all. I think I knew what it was going to be from the beginning.
Got it. So you give them a number and they come back and say,
Yeah.
we can do this.
Exactly. I think
Cool.
there might have been like some wiggle, there might have been some extra in there for like wiggle room just in case, but I knew what that number was from the beginning.
So now after 3 and change, do you
Yeah.
feel like a pro or do you feel like you could confidently write something right now and go in and feel good about making it, or there's just too many variables to be comfortable?
At that point, I'm getting there.
Okay.
At that point, I feel really comfortable with shorts-ish. And then, yeah, well, okay, so we put out Fall to Fame 3 weeks after we premiered Fall to Fame at a festival here in town, the Michaud Film Festival, which I won Best Actor at.
Hey.
3 weeks after that, COVID hit.
Oh.
And everything shut down.
Isn't that see, that's the momentum I was talking about, getting
Right.
stifled.
Right. That was
Wow.
a hard. I mean, at least I had that amazing moment at the Michaud Festival, and they're amazing, amazing, incredible human beings, and it's a beautiful festival. So I'm really happy that I had that moment and experience.
Yeah.
And then we had some other wins with the film online throughout, as everyone was starting to navigate the virtual thing. And then my friend Julie and I made this web series all throughout COVID. So we were writing, and it was kind of like show running our own show. It was all on Zoom, of course, but like we were writing it. I was sort of directing it. I was doing all the editing on iMovie because I barely know how to use a computer.
Yep.
So after that, I felt really confident.
Yeah.
And then I tried to write a feature, which was really bad. Nobody will ever see it. One person's seen it, and that's about it. But then I took that feature because I wasn't confident in that at all. So then I took that feature and turned it into my third short.
Got it.
So I went back to what I felt confident in.
Yeah.
Made that short, which I did with my friends from class. So that short I spent no money on.
Yeah.
I bought lunch and I paid our sound guy.
Got it. Was it another one where it was just like one spot?
One day, one
Okay,
location,
got it.
10 hours. Everyone volunteered their time and their talent and wore their many hats that, people wear.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like we have a tracking shot, but we don't have a dolly. So like there were like 3 people like lined up next to each other, like passing the camera slowly.
That's
So
great.
that we could like get the pseudo tracking shot. And my friends are incredible.
That's great.
So, and because I knew we were coming out of COVID and it was like, I need to get my hands dirty. Like I want to be building something again. Right. But I don't want to spend another $8,000. I don't have another $8,000
Right.
to spend. I want to make this piece. I knew I wanted to eventually get to the feature. So, all right, let's start with, that's when I went back to what I know. I feel comfortable writing 4 characters, 1 room, but they're really mostly 2-person scenes. People come in and out.
Right.
Which is where I felt comfortable at the
Yeah.
time. I felt really good at 2-person dialogue scenes.
Yeah. I think anything you're starting for the first time, and granted this was your first time, but you wanted to sort of go back to this. It's like simple is better. Like,
Yeah.
no need to complicate anything.
Exactly.
Because then it just, more can go wrong, more can frustrate you.
Right.
You can get stifled more.
And I knew I didn't want to spend any, didn't want to spend any money. So we kept it simple.
Didn't have any, didn't want to spend any.
Didn't want to spend any. Like, I mean, I knew that wasn't an option.
Right.
And I also knew that I was eventually going to work towards a larger goal with it, but I needed to figure out who these characters were,
Right.
what story we were telling. So I just went back to where I did feel comfortable and made that short. And then I've spent the last 2 years, but really the last 6 months, that's what I
Working
worked
on
on
that
this summer
feature.
is finishing the feature.
So let me ask you this. So like in June, I went to New York with a friend.
Yeah.
We got really inspired, or I got really inspired. And then we just started brainstorming this idea at a coffee shop because New York inspires me and I should move there, honestly. But I just wrote it finally like 3 weeks ago. It's like 10 pages, right? Mm-hmm. So if you had advice for me to do this and produce this and get the short made, what would sort of be your key advice points for me as somebody who's never made
Yeah.
really anything like that?
Start with your friends. Start with your tribe.
Okay.
Get people who want to help you succeed, and who then also want to get footage out of it, right? Like who want to be in your film, who will get something out of it, but they want to help you succeed. If you have to spend any money, spend it on sound.
Yeah.
That's really it. So spend it on sound. And then hopefully you have a friend with a camera. And if not, fine. Then that's number 2 on money is, having a good DP with a good camera.
Yeah.
But I think you can completely turn to your tribe to start. And if you don't have a tribe yet, then that's another conversation of advice of how to find of places to find a tribe. I've already plugged them, but Studio 24/7. But yeah, there are production companies that can help you, build a project really well, but it doesn't have to be $1 bajillion.
Right.
And
But your initial thought was DIY, right? Just
100%.
sort of find your friends,
Yeah.
hobble something together, knock it out
Do it
over a
yourself.
weekend. Yeah.
yeah, because
And sound is the
also-
word.
Yeah, because also like it's so easy. The bigger the production gets, the harder it is to do, the longer it takes to make happen. And it's so easy to be like, okay, I wrote this script. It's 10 pages. I want to have it to show for my work. And now all of a sudden you're not going to have it for a year because you're going to spend 6 months in pre-pro and then you're going to film it. And then it's going to take a few months to be edited because we're not spending tons of money on editing. So it's not first on the list
Right.
for people. So it's people get to it when they
get to
can,
it,
which
yeah.
is completely appropriate and fair. But so now all of a sudden, now this 10-page piece that you have that you want to show your ability, it's a year out. until
Right.
you're going to have it. Versus if you can DIY it, now you have this done. And okay, so like maybe it's not, the same quality as a Marvel movie. Right. But you have content.
Yeah.
And you have something to show for yourself. Now you have a calling card, and now you have something to go out and do.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's kind of inside baseball, my short film. And so we talk about how nobody filming at a location is expensive.
Yeah.
But then we go to the location in it. So that's kind of like, I'm like, oh no, because it's just a coffee shop. I'm sure I can figure something out. But like, that's the one thing where I'm like, damn, otherwise I could do this on my own.
Yeah. But, in terms of logistics, locations are doable. And if you have to, there are great places in town with like the setups.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So like if you do have to spend some money on that type of thing, there are good places where you can do that.
Where do you find those?
There's a couple in Burbank.
But is there a website that like...
There's a couple of them. I'll have to find it.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
When you're writing
or just like get a job at a coffee shop for 6 weeks.
Or find a friend, use your tribe that has a job at a coffee shop.
Or like get a job at a coffee shop for 6 weeks. Be like, hey, be there for 6 weeks, be cool, do a good job. And then be like, hey, could I like use this? And then like...
I don't want to work at a
We do what we got to do.
Those would be the most watered down drinks they've ever had in their life. I just put a lot of ice in them.
Listen, we do what we got to do.
When you write, do you write more for story, character? Do you have any opinion on that, or are you just writing what ideas come to your head?
I guess I don't know. I really like writing dialogue. I have a fantastic writing partner who we were put together by our agent. We have the same agent.
Oh, cool.
And she matched us up.
Oh, that's really cool.
Katie Mary Garland. And we've been writing together for a year and a half now. December will be 2 years.
That's awesome.
That Katie and I have been writing together. And we've written... Well, we just finished this feature of my short that we turned into a feature. So that's our fourth. We've written 4 features together. And we balance each other out really, really well. So I think I think we both write for both, but I really like writing dialogue. I really like writing character.
Sure. But idea creation, it's just sort of you guys spitballing back and forth?
Yeah. For the most part, we usually start with an outline, and then that outline goes completely off the rails, and then we bring it back. And on this last one, I was like, I want to throw out structure and make our own thing that no one's ever seen before. And she was like, okay. And then it didn't work. And she was like, so structure. And I was like, you are correct.
Well, in that vein, do you have any like cheats or hack codes or like advice for writing? Like, I don't know how I ended up writing the short film because I put it off for a month or two. I just suddenly was inspired, and we had so many notes from just sitting at the coffee shop that it was pretty simple to do. It took me like 90 minutes, but otherwise it's really a chore for me to sit down and write. Like I dread it. I don't think I'm confident in my voice. I don't like sitting there and like looking at a blank page. Do you have any tricks or things that get you out of your head or anything like that, or any rituals you do around it that make it easier?
I like to start with the dialogue. Like I'll start with a 2-person scene and just sort of be like, what's happening here, and kind of build it from there.
You go micro to macro.
Yeah. From when I'm writing by myself, that's what I do. When I'm writing with Katie, we do start bigger. We start with an outline, and we at least sort of have an idea of where we want it to maybe go. It sometimes goes completely different. But we do start with an outline. And also I think on some level I do usually start with write what I know. Sometimes, not always, but like when I made Fall to Fame, I was like, this is a completely made up film. Like I know nothing about this, and I'm in it as well. And I very specifically, a few weeks out from filming, I stopped really being part of the production team and started working with my directors just on the acting side of it.
Yeah.
And when we really dove into the acting, I was like, fuck, I wrote this about my ex too. Like,
sure.
Didn't even know it. Right. But like,
but part of you probably did know it. You just weren't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional. So in some level it is write what you know. And in this piece we just finished is not something that I really know, but I did a lot of research. And I've been researching it for a couple of years now to learn the world, to get the ideas, to learn what the story should be and why we're telling that story. So just, I guess that's my advice. It's like, so it feels real. So it feels tangible. So it feels real.
Do you have any hacks though for just getting in your butt in the seat and getting going? Getting started?
A partner.
Yeah,
I can't do it alone. Just
accountability.
100%. Having Katie, working with Katie is, I would do nothing without her. I would literally would have had nothing. I'm a deadline person, and I'm a responsible. Like if it's like, I don't want to let anybody down. Right. I have to have that accountability. Yeah. And my own deadlines don't work. Of course,
there's nobody holding you to the fire.
Yep. Nope. Yeah. So I have to have that accountability of upholding my end of the bargain. Yeah.
Does she punish you if you?
No, of course not. She's the nicest human on the planet. But
there's threat of violence on the other side of the deadline.
And then this last one, luckily, we ended up having a deadline for a submission, so that
that always helps. Yeah.
That lit a huge fire.
Yeah.
So
how did you get your agents and stuff? Because you made it sound like it's a lit agent. Yeah?
Yes, I do. So I got
how'd you get all your agents?
Right. So during COVID, this would have been, I guess,
2020
spring of right. But I think it was the following like February. I think it was like 2021.
Okay.
Like February of 2021. I was looking for all new representation. And everyone goes through the IMDb Pro. Yeah. I like to go through I almost said Craigslist. Whew, that's a very different search. I utilize LinkedIn.
Oh, interesting.
And was searching like talent managers on LinkedIn, and then cross-referencing those names with IMDb Pro. Yeah. And that's how I was finding new names of people that I was, because you look up a management company or an agency on IMDb Pro, and you're like, of course you don't want to send to the info app because no one's going to read it. Right. And okay, well, like what random agent do you like just pick and select to? Well, on LinkedIn, people have pictures. So first of all, I know if someone's my age or like, and if they're younger, if they're my age, okay, well, they're probably starting out. They're probably building their list. Sure. Maybe more willing to have a developmental client.
Yeah, interesting.
I happened to submit to a woman who was the perfect fit for me. She was acting and literary manager. Okay. And she then got me with my agent and hooked. My writing partner, actually, we met through her. She was both of our manager. She got us with an agency and then also became our agent. Oh, that's a whole other story. Oh, but
I was gonna say, so you have a manager and an agent. Yeah, but no, now she's your agent at this other place.
Exactly.
Got it.
So that was
just through cold email on LinkedIn.
Through cold email.
On LinkedIn.
I sent direct emails.
Got it.
Like I went to IMDb Pro, got emails, and I had the film was coming. Fall to Fame was already licensed, had just been licensed by Deku, so like I had that win to share. But that's when I come back to like have something that you can show, right? Because it's great to have. And I know that one of the reasons she signed me wasn't just that I was a writer, but I had stuff to show for it. And it wasn't just scripts. It was proof of follow through. It was proof of work. Right. Also, I think video resumes are an underutilized tool. I sent it like a 3-minute sort of like video about me. It was like an about me, but it had clips from my reel, and it had like, it was funny, and it was like...
But like you talking, like almost auditioning?
Yeah, it was just like a self-tape video of me.
Oh, funny.
And it was like, this is me in my 3-year-old dance recital costume. My mom still has it in a drawer.
And then smash cut to that, and then back to
exactly.
You. Oh,
and
funny.
Then like, at the time I think I had just turned 30 or something, and I was like, I'm 30, but I can drink like I'm 21, and if you think I can play 16, then great. Like it was
showing
just,
your personality.
It was me being ridiculous.
That's really smart.
And then like, like this is my film that I won Best Actor for, and it's now coming to Deku, and here's a clip from it. Yeah. That would be, that's also my reel. So I think, and I know from her, she told me that I also sent the most absurd subject line, like to get her to
I do that too.
Open it. Yeah. And so she said when she read my subject line, she was like, what the fuck? Can I curse on this? Yeah. Like she was like, who the fuck is this asshole? And then she watched the video and was like, yeah, I like him.
That's great.
So
what was the subject line?
I was like, found, gay Jewish actor for pilot season.
I used to always write, I never know what to put for the subject line.
Right.
The video resume is an interesting thought. Do you know how many people, I don't know how many agents you ended up messaging, but do you know how many people ended up like clicking into it? Because I'm always sus if people are actually watching the reels or anything.
I don't track them. Some people, people you can track your emails, and I don't know how to do that.
Well, was it on YouTube? You couldn't see like views or whatever?
Yeah, it is on Vimeo, but I don't, I wasn't keeping track of like at the time, like what were the new views and things like that. But I think it's an underutilized, and of course, like it's, use it at the right time in the right space. But I think it can be really helpful. Yeah. A really great about to go along with a cover letter of like, these are my wins. Like, this is what I'm doing. Right. And here's my fun personality.
Yeah, that's really smart.
So that's how I was able to get representation.
As far as a literary agent, are they getting you, and I've had a ton of writers on, but I'm just curious your thoughts on this. Are they getting you potential like pitch packets, or are they mostly taking what you're writing and trying to get it out to other people? Or both, I guess.
At the moment, my writing partner, right, up until the strike, and even still now, I mean, my writing partner and I are writing we're writing scripts, like full scripts that we want to sell.
Got it.
And get out into the world. My goal is to then get to my hopefully sooner rather than later goal is to get to a place where then my agent is then getting us the work so that we're getting paid up front to write those scripts. We've done some of that where like we've been like, here's the log line, here's the synopsis. If you're interested, then let's make a deal. Right. But you have to start with proof of ability. Yeah.
But is she taking your scripts and trying to send them out to producers and production companies and stuff?
Yeah.
Got it. And so that was sort of the meetings you were talking about right before the strike that you were going out on. Yeah. Those were for what exactly? Your feature was done now, so it's not about...
Those are for... We have a couple other scripts that we've written in the last year and a half that are like rom-com, funny, comedy. A couple that we hope will live in like that Hallmarky vein, because great. And some that are rom-com comedy, but not Hallmark, because like I like to use curse words.
Sure. So Cameron Burr won't be starring in it. Yeah. Candace Cameron Burr will not be starring in it.
No.
Do you like budget your time as far as how much you're going to be writing in a week, how much you're going to be acting class, how much you're going to be... Do you do any sort of time management as far as your workload? Because it sounds like you got a lot of coals in the in the fire.
I don't have necessarily like a set like from this time to this time. But I mean, I work in the evenings and I get up every morning at 7:15 and go to my workout class. So I have all day. So most days it's, and luckily now in the world of Zoom, I can do a lot of rehearsals for class over Zoom. Yep. And my writing partner and I write over the computer, even though we only live 25 minutes away from each other.
But, like, that's pretty far, though.
She's in Hollywood and I'm in Santa Monica. Like, it's a lot.
It's pretty far.
So, yeah, I sort of schedule out my day as needed. Usually,
but not further than that.
Yeah, I mean, but if I know, like, like with writing, when we're in the middle of a project, we usually meet once or twice a week on FaceTime, depending on our individual schedules. But then, we'll say like, okay, well, the next time I will have done this by the next time we meet, so.
So do you have a weekly cadence where you meet?
Pretty much.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Because then you have to get it done by that time every week.
Exactly. And same with like my classes and rehearsals and like, okay, well, I know this scene is going up on this day. I've got to do. I also know my attention span. Like I'm a 2-hour max kind of person. And then I need snacks. But I also don't like to eat in front of people because I used to be a dancer, so that's a whole other conversation. So I can't eat my snacks on FaceTime while I'm in a writing session. So
We're now in the therapy session.
Yeah, exactly.
You can eat in front of people. It's okay.
So,
No, I asked because I've struggled with this, especially I stopped doing this podcast during COVID.
Okay.
Because I like to do them in person and I kind of refused to do them online. And then when I started to back up, I kind of felt this like pull to be more productive, like cutting these up and putting them on social media and stuff.
Yeah.
And until I sort of came to the realization that I should budget my time around that, if I wasn't doing it, I felt guilty about not quote unquote creating or producing or making content.
Right.
End quote. And so then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna every day, every week on the same time frame, I'm gonna do that. So then on the other days, I'm not feeling guilty about not doing it.
Totally. And that's where like I said before, I have to have that partner or that deadline, because I also will be like, well, I did something yesterday. Like, I can take the day off.
Well, no, that's different than me. Me, I'm like, I should be doing it more.
Yeah.
It's not because I did it yesterday. I'm in the clear. It's I should be doing it more because I did it yesterday. I'm capable of doing it.
Right. Well, but I would very happily be like, I'm taking the day off. But if I know
great.
I have,
What's that like, Owen?
if I have like a scene coming up that I have to be memorized for, like if I have
Yeah.
these things, if I have deadlines, if I've got, a writing session the next day, so I'm good about keeping myself really structured, because I know that if I don't, I'll just watch TV all day
Yeah.
and be very happy.
Right. That's good though that you can.
I keep myself. It's not an organized structure of like every day from this time to this time I do this, but my days are pretty. With whatever needs to get done that day is pretty full.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you feel like you can step away. Like, I mean, I did, like I said, until I was like really like being like, okay, you can work on it for this much a week at this time. And then I found I was enjoying my time away from it more.
Totally.
Which it sounds like you don't have a problem with.
Well, I think I found that also through COVID, which was that step back that I think a lot of people went through, which is, let's enjoy life, because who knows what the fuck's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
And I did sort of shift my thought process of like, okay, it doesn't have to be all the time. Because before that, it was like, I moved to LA. I want to be successful. I don't want to be working in a restaurant anymore. I need, I have to be doing something all the time. And I got really tired of being that person who could never go to anything because I was working or because I was busy. So like I have made the effort now, like I have my schedule structured so that like I don't have to work Fridays and Saturdays anymore. Yeah. And I try to take Saturday, at least, one day a week off to like be outside. Or if I do have work to do, like, okay, great, I can go sit outside and do it somewhere, or sit in the park, or like sit at a table outside and just sort of enjoy a little bit.
Yeah, that's great.
Not sacrifice my social life.
I love that. Because I do feel like we're at a point where it's like, if you're not busy, what's busy's hip, you know what I mean? And like with social media, we got to be constantly creating stuff and being seen. And it's just like, no, let's step away and relax.
And have fun. And I like being busy. I do much better when I'm busy.
For 2-hour increments.
Yeah, but I just need a little break in between, and then I can go to the next one. I just need a little breathe time.
Well, you mentioned TV. What else do you do to like step away? Or what are your hobbies outside of this business?
My hobby is going out and eating and drinking. and truly like, but the socialization that comes with that is really my hobby.
Yeah.
But then for like downtime, because I live in Santa Monica, I do spend a lot of time like on a bike ride. Things
nice.
like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just getting out and about.
Just getting out, fresh air.
Was that? It seems like you're an extroverted type, and that was tricky for me. I was too, and I love living alone until COVID hits. Was that tricky for you to be?
I went home.
Smart. Where's home, by the way?
Central Illinois.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, when COVID first hit, it was supposed to be 2 weeks, right? And I work in a restaurant, and the restaurant closed, and I was like, I don't have any money, and I might as well go home and let my parents buy my groceries and feed me. And I was able to get like probably one of the last like flights. We didn't have to wear masks yet. Like it was that I got out of here really fast. And I flew to Chicago. I got like a $60 plane ticket from LAX to Chicago.
Great deal.
Our mutual friend, Kate, drove me to the airport at like 4 a.m. because I was like, I don't think there's still Ubers. Like, I don't know what's going on. My brother picked me up in Chicago. We drove down to our parents' house, and we were going to be there for 2 weeks, and he and I stayed for 3 months.
Wow.
So I got a very lucky COVID experience.
Yeah.
One, because I was with my family, and everyone else learned how to cook during COVID, but my mom made dinner, so I didn't have to learn how to cook. I still don't know how to cook.
That's funny.
And so I was with my family, and I wasn't alone. And my brother kind of took a corner, and I kind of took a corner, and like I said, my friend and I were able to do this show, this web series that we made on Zoom. So I was kind of in like full production, and I was still rehearsing with my classmates.
Oh, great.
We did eventually put class on Zoom, but I was rehearsing scenes for when we did finally someday get back into the theater.
Right.
So I actually did have a pretty regimented schedule during those 3 months of rehearsals, of writing, of filming, of editing.
That's great.
Kept
You still
myself
had that
busy,
structure
which was awesome.
It's good for your deadline.
It was great.
Brain need, yeah.
And then I didn't have to go to work at a restaurant at night. And at 5 o'clock, I could make a cocktail. And at 6 o'clock, my mom served dinner. Like, I was like, this is perfect. What have I been doing
We all
wrong
hate
with
you
my
right
life? And the other difference, and this is just the luck of the draw, where my parents live in Central Illinois, there wasn't COVID yet.
Right.
It came later.
Yeah.
But in that initial first 3 months, like it wasn't scary like it was here.
Sure.
Because there wasn't any COVID cases in the area yet. So it had a very different feel to the area. Like we were of course being safe and smart, but we weren't scared.
Right.
So
well, we're almost to an hour. I want to ask the last question I ask everybody, which is who took a chance on you? I find that to be a crucial part of this journey is somebody sending the elevator back down. So who do you think has taken a chance on you?
I think a lot of people have taken a chance on me.
I want names.
Yes.
I want faces.
I think first and foremost,
God. That's where it felt like you were going.
Right? What's the Kathy?
I can't do it without
Kathy Griffin's Emmy acceptance speech when she said nobody had less to do with this than Jesus.
That's where it felt like it was going. Just to be clear, you're like first and foremost.
Careful, the lightning will strike us. I hope you have a home insurance. No, but really, I think it has to be my family. I mean, they are so supportive.
Yeah,
and this is a crazy existence that we have. And I work hard to prove that this journey is worthwhile and what I want to do. But there's never been ever a moment where anyone in my family and my parents have been like, maybe you should do something else. Every decision, every new road, every path, every opportunity, it's always yes, and support. So I think that's the number one. I think I will say the team of people that I have around me at the moment in terms of agents and representation are taking a chance.
Yeah.
Because I've been with a lot of them for a while now and I haven't made anybody $1. But they still like me and they still believe in me and they're still really excited for the things that will hopefully come down the pipeline in the future. And I appreciate that. And yes, there are like beacons in this industry of like, you have to get with that person and you have to get with this. And those are hard beacons to get to and to grasp. But I'm much more interested in building up the people around me who took the chance on me now.
Yeah, that's great.
And so I value their trust and their support so much.
Yeah.
Because they're good people. That's who I want to be around.
I agree. Yeah.
So
that's why I like this question, right? Because I feel like you can't make it without people taking chances on you and giving you opportunities and things like that. Because otherwise, you're just
absolutely
waiting for the phone to ring from nobody.
Absolutely. No, I would say those are the people who I will say are taking chances on me, but equally, it's a different question that you didn't ask, but equally like. Just to bring it back to how I started, I couldn't do it without all of the people who, in their way, take their chance on me by being in my projects or casting me in their projects or just, existing in this crazy world with me. I couldn't do it without any of them, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to.
Yeah. Call your friends, everybody.
Call your friends.
Tell them your friends.
Also, ask for help.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's like the biggest thing. And I've really learned to not be afraid of that is ask for help.
Yeah.
Just ask for help. And most likely people will say yes. And rarely ever do they say no. Sometimes it's just like, yes, but not right now.
Right.
But just ask for help, all kinds of help.
Yeah. I found asking, this has come up a lot in the podcast, is like, just what's the worst that can happen if you ask? They say
100%.
no or they
Yeah.
ignore you. Like,
Exactly. That's literally
no bad
that's
downside
literally the
to
worst
ask.
case is that they just don't respond. And
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, I guess we're not friends anymore. No.
because like every time I email somebody about this podcast,
Yeah.
that's an ask by me
Yeah.
for help, theoretically. And if I couldn't get over that, I wouldn't have 300 episodes of this podcast.
I didn't even know you had 300.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
More than that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. This was a pleasure. It was so
was
good
so
to meet you,
nice.
Jacob.
Great to meet you. Thank you for
This
having
was
me.
a great conversation.
Thanks
Did
for letting
you
me
have
talk
fun?
about myself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm obsessed with myself.
You have to be out here, right? Let's be honest.
An hour of talking about me. I loved it.
Living the dream.
No, but it was so nice to meet you. Thank you for
Likewise.
having me.
You get to slate your name, Tail Slate, now to end this.
Tail Slate. Hi. My name is Jacob Seidman. Thank you so much.
MTV and the Channel E. A thing for celebrity.
That hit a little bit differently